Hello and welcome to the Morning Skate Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell and a special guest to cover the Tuesday, March 20th NHL slate. So, DJ, before we get to you, let's introduce Travis Johnson, our Listener League winner from February. So, congrats to Travis. How you doing, Travis?
Not bad. Excited to be here, guys.
Yeah, and DJ, how was your weekend? Apologies about the Bonaventure crushing loss, but hopefully you can look past it.
After one good night of drinking, I decided to take Friday off and then just, do the St. Patrick's Day thing. I am part Irish, but I don't like to lie about and go out there and say I'm like full Irish or anything. But I did go get some car bombs, have a good time, and I don't know. My weekend was pretty good. I don't know. How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun?
Not really. The St. Patty's Day plans I was just planning on going out for the nightcap, and as day drinking always goes, the night plans didn't really happen. So I hung out, watched some hockey. So a good weekend all in all, but kind of missed out on the St. Patty's Day festivities.
Yeah, it's always like it seems like it's going to be unreal, and it's always kind of like the same. It's like this bar's overcrowded.
Yeah, no, I'm not upset that I missed out. Let me just say that. But yeah, so before we get into probably the nuts and bolts of the show, I just wanted to mention Morning Skate Madness, the second round for our eight, second round finalists. Yes, the Elite Eight starts on tonight. So be sure to get your head-to-heads in if you need a refresher. The bracket shapes up as the winner of Doug and Will was Doug. So congrats to Doug. Making us look good here at the Morning Skate Pod. The 1 seed carries on. Chris Denny defeated Tyler Flanagan, so I know that came right down to the wire. Bill Penrod upset my dad, Brad Moody, in just a stunning upset. My dad had Hornqvist, played a guy who didn't even dress for the Sabres, played Jared Coro in net because why not? And he lost by like 0.2, so that was pretty interesting. But all right, DJ, you took down Nicole. So congrats to you there.
Honestly, we had extremely similar lineups. Like Locke, we had like the same 4 players going at first, and I'm like, this is crazy. And then I had Varlamov, who just went off. Nice. It was like I tried to be contrarian with my goalie take because I had a lot of like our podcast picks, but it worked out all right.
Yeah, that worked. So Stephen Friend and Jay Willie. Jay Willie pulled that one out. I know that was by 0.5. And Steven had David Backus, who left in the first period for a game misconduct, took a 0 there. So that was quite the bad beat there for Steven. I took down Mike Labs. It was a pretty close, I think, 2-point win for me. So happy to move on. JR Day beat out Scott Craig, so good luck to JR. And finally, Boomer beat Corey Ritter. So there's the Elite Eight. If you need a refresher on the bracket, be sure to check out our Twitter at Morning Skate Pod. And along with the bracket, there'll be a link. And if you're in the tournament, you can find the DK username of your opponent. Again, the matchups are Doug versus Chris, Bill versus DJ, Jay versus myself, and JR versus Boomer. So there's the bracket. That's all fun and good. DJ, anything else before we get to talking to Travis a bit?
No, let's just get right into it. Travis, are you ready for question 1?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so same 5 questions as we always ask. So where are you from and what's your favorite NHL team?
I'm actually from Minot, North Dakota, but I am actually originally from Grand Forks, which is where the Fighting Sioux are from University of North Dakota. So a lot of these Tane, Kate, or I'm sorry, Taze, Parisi, all those big boys.
Yeah. So you and the 60 other North Dakotans got to enjoy them play?
Yeah. Actually, we have. If you ever come to North Dakota, we have probably the nicest rink in the world here.
I bet. Honestly, it's like I've never really thought about going to North Dakota, but if I was, I think I'd definitely try to get to a game there. I'm really excited for the real NCAA tournament to start, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. We missed it, of course.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys.
I think the first time in like 15 years or something stupid.
North Dakota and Minnesota missed it, right?
Yeah.
I know I was looking at it. I'm kind of like RIT Notre Dame fan, I guess, because RIT is from Rochester, so I
Right.
root for them, and they were god awful. And then I was kind of always been a Notre Dame fan, and they're 1 seed, so we'll see what happens there. But we
Yeah,
could, I mean,
the bracket or like the regional is in Allentown for the East, so that's like
yes,
an hour from me in Philly. So I'm planning on. I'm going to see if I can go up there for the Princeton, Ohio State, and
Yeah.
Denver, Penn State.
Troy
So
Terry.
yeah,
Yeah. And then next year the Frozen Four is in Buffalo, so I definitely will be attending. All right, but we'll get
nice.
to the next question. So what got you into playing daily fantasy sports, and how long have you been playing NHL?
Honestly, it probably started with just regular fantasy football. Played that for probably 3-4 years, and at the end of college, I was like, oh, DraftKings, let's look at that, and that was kind of fun. But since then, I've actually kind of gotten away from football for the most part, just because
It's smart.
I don't understand how, like, you don't have the stats that baseball does, and baseball and hockey. I kind of started, like, I started hockey probably, well, this is probably my third year, but I knew nothing about it the first year I played. I just plugged players in, like, play the $2 tournament thinking you're going to win 10 grand or something like that. And, that didn't work at all. So then I kind of like played a little baseball, and, all of a sudden it was like, oh, these two sports are really, really similar. And so now I'm primarily baseball and hockey, and it works out well because they end and start at the same time. So
Gearing up for some baseball DFS. I can't wait to throw my money away
I
again.
am so excited.
The thing about baseball is I get really into it at first, and by like July, I'm just totally out. Like I can't play the slate over and over again. It like blows my mind. Okay, so besides winning the Morning Skate Podcast Listener League, what's your biggest daily fantasy win, and do you have a most tilting loss?
Yeah, I think actually not money wise win, but my first win I'll probably always remember, and that was last year, I think. I think it was one of those slates where you had just like, it was like an NBA slate where you had all kinds of injury news, and Erik Karlsson, I think, was questionable, and got a notification on my phone like 2-3 minutes before the game started he's going to play. So I popped him in, and I got him at like 5% ownership, something like that, and he ended up having like a 12-point game and shipped it. And I was pretty excited because I'd gotten second probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 times earlier that year, and it was about actually this time of the year when I actually finally got it, and I'd played most of the year, and it wasn't for a lot of money, but I'll always remember it because him and Kyle Turris, I guess, kind of did it for me.
Two amigos.
Yeah. So that, and then probably the most tilting loss was probably 2 weeks before that. I got second, but me and a guy were tied, and I think it was Silverberg. I think it was a minute or two left in the third, and he had a defenseman for, I can't remember who they were playing, but we were tied in first, and Silverberg took a shot, and his defenseman blocked it, and that was
it. Wow, that's
and like I was listening to it on the radio, or internet radio or whatever, and I was like, oh my god.
That is a great one right there.
Yeah. Just sitting there waiting for a stat correction or something, and never happened.
Yeah, Silverberg shoots and deflected away by Muzzin. No. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah,
but the other one I got was, I think it was when I was still, or after I joined with you guys, I won the hat trick, and I've won that quite a few times this year. But Karlsson got I think it was Ottawa versus Vegas. And I was done, except for I had Carpenter left, and the guy with me had Karlsson. It was actually, I think it was one of the guys that runs Daily Faceoff, and they took the lead on me, 2 guys, and then Carpenter scores a shorty, and I win the tournament.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was
Carpenter magic.
That was awesome, but yeah, no, I'm not an MME guy. Play the, I don't know, higher dollar, low entry guy kind of tournaments, and that's kind of where I live.
Yeah, that's where I like to
Definitely.
live.
All right. Yeah, I like to live within my means of having no money. So eventually I might be able to join the ranks, but as of now, we still don't have the capital. But all right, how the hell did you find out about this podcast?
Honestly, I just, when I dive into something, I dive in and try to get, if it's baseball, hockey, whatever, I try to find as much information as I can on things just because I want to know as much as possible. Just, I don't like to do everything half-ass or anything, but so I like to listen to what people think, get my own opinions, and I just search for podcasts on DFS NHL, and that's what I found. Found you guys, and I think another one maybe, but
Well, that one doesn't matter.
why do you think I didn't say the name?
Thank you. Okay, and then last, is there anything else you'd like to share about yourself? What you do maybe outside of DFS? Any promotion? I don't know. If it's like a writer or something. I don't know.
No, I'm just, I don't know, blue collar guy. Working oil field production, so that's what I do. And I don't know, you see me in chat like early in the morning or late at night. It just depends on my schedule because I work weird shifts. So
nice. Well, I must say, after three interviews now, when people ask about the most tilting loss, I'm just waiting for someone to say the right answer, which is all of them. They all are incredibly tilting.
Every loss can be
no.
Oh man.
I don't even know. I couldn't even think of my most tilting loss. I really couldn't. But all right. Well, why don't we just jump into the slate now? For anyone that's still, wait, what was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say the games. So we have 11 games, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's a good slate.
It's a pretty good slate. So we have Pittsburgh on like 4 days rest, playing the Islanders, Columbus back-to-back against the Rangers, Dallas at Washington, Edmonton at Carolina. Florida's on a back-to-back, right?
Yep.
Florida at Ottawa, Philadelphia at Detroit, Toronto without Matthews again at Tampa Bay, LA at Winnipeg, Colorado at Chicago, or the McKinnons are at Chicago, Vancouver at Vegas, and then New Jersey at San Jose. So honestly, a lot of like random matchups with a lot of like Western Conference, Eastern Conference stuff. Should be fun. Some matchups we've never seen. But you just want to dive right into the first game?
Yeah, I mean, well, let's Travis, you were telling me that you really like this slate. Are there a couple spots that you're like really looking at, like game wise, early on? Or?
Yeah. One thing I remember from last year, and I won some money on it, was the Stars and the Capitals. The Stars,
interesting,
for some reason, normally own the Capitals, and I looked into it this morning again, and I think it's to the tune of like, well, I know Kari Lehtinen has the most wins versus any team, and that's the Capitals. He's like 18-6 versus the Caps
from his Atlanta days, right? That's where that's where he was. Yeah, that's interesting.
He should be starting too. I mean, 7,100. I guess if you want the narrative goalie of the night.
Yeah, Bishop's hurt. Yeah,
and they're 11-4 in the last 15 meetings. The Stars are.
Well, that's
averaging like 3.7 goals a game. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, so we'll definitely touch on that then. So that's a nice little stat to get us started. Yeah, it's a 7:00 game. Why don't we start there? Dallas at Washington. I alluded to it in the just now. Ben Bishop suffered the injury, it looked like. So he's out. Obviously, that means Kari Lehtinen should be starting. But it appears as if they're still trying to ride this Ben, Sagan, Radulov. We have a ton of studs on this slate. DJ, do you see Sagan or Ben or Radulov kind of making their way into your consideration here?
I mean, I definitely think it's a good stack to have. I never mind targeting Washington, and I feel like targeting Washington at home is fine. It's probably going to be a bit contrarian. It's a bit expensive as a stack for me. I probably would go with like Radulov Sagan, although I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'll end up actually having it. If you do have it, you're gonna have to find some punts. Klingberg's price has kind of come back down to earth. I don't know how much in consideration I consider him right now. I'd need to look into that more. But him at 5'5" instead of having him where he was at like 6'2" is a bit more stomachable. So I think there's definitely an option. And like we mentioned all the time, it's really hard to go away from Dallas 1. So if you really like Dallas, you're kind of gonna have to go down that route. So. I think they lost. Yeah, they lost 4-2 to Winnipeg last time out. And as you mentioned, the Benzig and Radulov. Although line 2 is where they got their goal on 5-on-5. Do you have any interest in that line 2 with Janmark and Vasca? Fact.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
they're gonna see minutes, so I can't say I hate it. This is all a little bit speculative because they did lose, and we know Hitchcock loves to throw his lines in a blender. But Ritchie played on the first power play, so that's worth noting if he kind of gets one of those jumps into the top 6 that we tend to see from time to time for Brett Ritchie. He has a nice price if you want to stack him with some of these guys. I don't think I like it too much myself. Dallas hasn't been lighting the world on fire, and I think this would be a better, if this were like a 4 or 5 game slate, I would be all in on stacking these guys. But I feel like there's too many other smash spots here that I just really want a piece of to spend all the way up on these Dallas guys. But Travis, anything else you have to say on the Dallas side before we go to some quick Washington news?
Yeah, I'm just looking at both sides and the lines. They did put I was really more interested in this game if Travis Boyd was going to be on that top line. We saw a lot of goals from Philly last time out. And I don't know. I haven't looked at who that was against, but they did move Backstrom back up with Ovechkin. So it's not as appealing as I thought it would be right now. But if you're going to MME something, I wouldn't be afraid of putting this in once or twice.
Interesting. Yeah, good call there. Kuznetsov, in case we didn't mention it, is out or
doubtful.
Doubtful. He appears to be out here. So that could be, if I don't really love Washington either, but if you're looking to this, if you're looking for some decent exposure to Ovechkin for like a really nice price, Nick Backstrom at 6.1, he's been shooting the puck a ton lately. He's got 3 shots per game over his last 10 for Backstrom. That's really good because we know he's such an assist getter that if Ovi smashes, it's likely that Backstrom will be involved. And with no Kuznetsov, at least last game, he double shifted probably to cover for that Boyd guy. So if that holds like Backstrom Ovi, that could be a nice little stack there.
Do you think that was a product of him being on the second line?
You mean like Backstrom's minutes or
his shots?
It certainly could be. That's a good call there. That
Because
maybe Backstrom
you didn't see that before.
Yeah, I mean he was playing with Brett Connolly and Burakovsky, who aren't two guys who they're not great monsters by any means, but I think they're both guys who like have the talent that if they're set up to be shooting. And so Backstrom being the guy that he is with the puck on his stick all the time, I kind of feel like that this could be, not like an elite center level shot rate or anything, but if it's anywhere close to what it's been lately for 6,100, I think that's a decent price. But
I like that.
Certainly not the best mid tier play at center in my opinion, but just one that I like. So we're ready.
Going back to just looking at Washington's depth lines here, they're not good, especially that third line. So, I mean, honestly, if you need to, you could probably get away with playing some of this depth. I don't know if this line's going to hold with Janmark, Spezza, and Gemmel Smith, but
they were all messed up last game because
I don't know, but whoever's facing that line, I would have zero problem rostering because I just don't think that line is very good. They're fast, but that's about it.
Yeah. I don't know quite how I feel about the depth in this game, but I can certainly see where you're coming from here. So let's go, in the interest of time, over to Pittsburgh at the Islanders. I have a feeling that Pittsburgh is going to be very popular here. We saw we saw Hornqvist have a monstrous game last time out. He is officially priced up with the elites on the slate. But there's really no arguing that Pittsburgh has been absolute world beaters lately. So, the Islanders have just seemed dead. Every facet of their game is just god awful right now. So, I mean, instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, they're good plays," if you have to pick between, I believe the first line in practice today was Crosby, Gensel, Rust, I think, and then Hagelin, Hornqvist, and Malkin. If you had to pick one of those lines, DJ, which one are you leaning to? And then I'll throw that to Travis.
Wow. I mean, price not considered, I feel like you would ride the hot hand of Hornqvist, Malkin, but I think it'd be a little bit more contrarian to go with Crosby and Gensel. And the only problem with that is you're not getting Gensel on the power play. Schultz, of course, was on the first power play, and Letang also saw time with them. So it's going to be, again, another one of those games where if you want to play defenseman power play one roulette with Pittsburgh, go right ahead. I think the Malkin Hornqvist is it's so good right now. It might be a time to jump off and go with the Crosby line, which obviously Sidney Crosby is one of the best players in the league. Honestly, I'd say it's a toss-up. I don't know if I'd consider – I honestly would consider going Crosby and Kessel and really trying to get contrarian with a team that
that's
it's something out there different because I think they're going to score in bunches.
I agree. The best play on the board here is Hornqvist Malkin, but I mean, what are you going to get if you roster those guys together? I mean, this slate is absolutely packed full of good spots. I don't know if you need to spend all your money here.
Okay. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I do think adding Hagelin is an interesting little wrinkle. He's obviously 5 of 5 correlated only, but he's shown that he has the skill to keep, the speed to keep up with it, obviously. And he has some skill to his game. So I think, putting him as a relatively good value is a nice way to stack that line without being, totally blowing your cap, basically. But yeah, I like the Crosby Kessel as well, just because we know that power play is so dynamic. Any interest in Derek Brassard at 4,500? Second power play, the minutes have been pretty low, but since heading over to Pittsburgh, I mean, he's been decent. So he's a nice little play at 4,500, I think, in this matchup.
What would you say? I'd say you almost have to stack him up with Kessel, right?
Yeah,
with a 5-5 correlation.
Yeah, I would. Stack him with Kessel. Yeah, I mean, on the Islanders side, it's really tough to just suggest any of them because they've been, so just god awful. But Ryan Pulock has been an absolute bright spot for them. He's really turned into a really good DFS player for us. So he's playing 20 minutes a night. Only second power play for the time being, but even then, he's still putting up numbers. He's putting up shots, blocking shots here and there. So 4,500, I could see using him at defense because of the way that Pittsburgh is just so fast paced. I love picking up D-men against them who can shoot the puck and play in transition, and I think that'll suit Pulock's game pretty well here. But really, no one else that I'm that interested.
I don't know. I'm really not totally against going with some of these Islanders. I mean, Lee and Bailey are again extremely cheap. I think it's going to be very contrarian to go with the Islanders one against Pittsburgh, and they do push the pace a lot. So I think there's a chance that they could, go off as any line could. But I think there's a lot of skill on that first line, so I'm not totally against it. I don't know if I'm really going to have it, but I'm definitely going to look into it tomorrow. I'm not going to completely write it off because it's very cheap comparatively to I guess that at one point in the year, obviously they've been cold as of late, but Bailey at 5.4 is very cheap.
I actually completely agree with you. This spot, teams coming off 4 days rest, they sometimes tend to put a stinker up in the first period. If we get Matt Murray back, you never know what's going to happen there. I actually like that. And the Malkin line, I believe, is the one that's been giving it up. So I don't know who they would be matching with. I don't think it's in Pitt, right?
It's
in New York.
In New York.
In New York. So that would be, yeah. I guess I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's one of those spots where you could get – I completely agree, I guess. It's just –
yeah, it's definitely going to be contrarian, I think, on this slate. I mean, 11-game slate, you can really – any line is going to be a little bit less owned, but I think this one's really going to go under the radar. And well, do you know what Vegas has it at? Anyone? I might not
It's
be up.
actually not up yet.
Yeah, because of Murray
Interesting.
and goaltending and whatnot.
Yeah, it seems like Murray will play though. So
Yeah.
Minus
Yeah.
167 on.
Yeah.
I don't have a spread though.
No, I don't have this spread either. All right, then why don't we just jump into the next game? Columbus at the Rangers. This one, I know, Matt, you had a spot that you were looking at right away on this game, so I'll send it to you.
I mean, so if you look at what Mika Zibanejad's been doing lately, like, why is he 5.5? It just doesn't make sense to me. We're looking at a guy who, even before this nice little run he went on, was, he's literally a top 10 center in terms of like I-Corsi per 60, playing a huge role for this Rangers team. Power play 1, he's the trigger man on that power play. He catches a Columbus team on a back-to-back, coming off of 3 massive games in a row. You could even argue 4 with a 5.5, 8, 11, 7.5 fantasy points. Clearly that's, buoyed by 8 points in those 4 games. But, he's shooting the puck a ton too. He had a 9-shot game in there. He had a 5-shot game in there. He's night in, night out, just a super consistent guy. And I feel like Zibanejad is going to be one of the first people in my lineup on Tuesday, just given the way he's been playing and the usage. I don't care if the Rangers suck, to be honest, because he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, the correlation would probably be with Chris Kreider. Not that I'm suggesting that play too much, but if you were trying to stack up Rangers, like he's the guy that gets power play 1 time and line 1 with him. They had Jesper Fast with them last game. Although, I mean, like
that should hold, I think, because they've been playing really well together.
And then on the point on that power play, they had, but how you say it again? Pionk?
Yeah, Pionk.
So I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm all aboard that train quite yet.
What about Zook?
I mean, Zook's they're so incredibly cheap.
They're the same. I mean, I'm just looking at their shot splits blocks the last 5. And they're almost identical. 5 goals, 16 shots, 3 blocks, 5 goals, 3 assists, 17 shots, 5 blocks for Zib and Zook. I mean, I think either way is a great way to go. I like it. The prices are great.
Yeah, I think Zuccarello is also an interesting play. I wish they used them on the same power play unit. They kind of went apart. They went away from that, and that's been a little bit disappointing. But they've been bad defensively, so I could certainly see them like switching up lines regardless of the offensive output. And putting a guy like Zuccarello alongside Zibanejad would obviously be great for fantasy purposes. But I think we can tackle that when we get there. I doubt Seth Jones will play in this one. He did not play on Monday evening, and I don't see them. Well, I mean, they're still kind of like right in the thick of things, but it also just seems like that he's actually like pretty hurt. But keep an eye on that news, because I know there's a few value spots that open up for Columbus in the chance that he doesn't play. Columbus did just score 5 goals on Boston on Monday night, so that could be a spot worth looking at. Travis, any interest in these Columbus guys here? Defensemen and or line 1, maybe the second line value guys?
I think what I'm going to want to do is probably target, I think it's the Spooner line. I believe that's the line that's been giving up quite a few chances. Whoever's, again, I mean,
Spooner, Hayes, Zuccarello.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had some atrocious numbers.
Yeah, that's yep.
It was just terrible, and I mean, honestly, I think New York. I mean, and this is kind of another punt, but if Columbus being on a back-to-back and all, I think you could almost go punt with their goalie if you really needed to. The Georgiev or whatever. He's not been bad. I would not play Lundqvist, but
Lundqvist is projected to start right now.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, he announced today that he would be back. So
okay.
AV said it. Yeah,
I really like that Georgiev. He's had games where he's had to stop piles and piles and piles of shots, and
I mean,
he's been decent.
Honestly, we know Lundqvist can do the same too.
Right.
Lundqvist is see at least 30 shots. If you think Lundqvist could get the win, I think that he could be your GPP goal for you guys.
I think he's gonna see 35 at the least.
I would, yeah. I
honestly.
mean, Columbus definitely will pile on the shots. I know they're on a back-to-back, but Tortorella will have them whipped into shape. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
if you really like the Rangers side and you want to stack up the Rangers, then you should probably have Lundqvist in your lineup. I probably won't have too much from the Columbus side personally. I'm looking at their lineup, what they did in the game against Boston, and it does look like Werenski got the majority of minutes. And also Nidavara was on power play too, but he didn't really see as many minutes. But yeah, I'm probably not going to go too heavy on the Columbus side. But if I did, I don't know. It's hard because I have no idea who they're going to match up with the Spooner line. I don't really know if Torts is really that into lineup matching. Matt, you have any thoughts on that?
It's in New York.
Yeah, it's in New York, so that's not something
way harder.
I think will be, at least
not gonna matter
pregame. But yeah, I don't think it matters personally.
Then, is there anything else you wanted to touch on, Matt, before we move on to?
I like Tim Atkinson at 6.1. He's such a good shooter, and that price has fallen pretty sharply, up from where it was just a few games ago. So I think 6,100 is about where I expect Atkinson to settle in. And I really like this game in terms of pace for both teams. They both rank up in the top 5 on this 11-game slate. So 22 teams, they're both in the top 5 in terms of expected goals over the past 10 games. And I think that Columbus and New York, I think they both should honestly go relatively overlooked. So I like the values here for sure. Let's.
What do you think? What do you think about Dubois? Do you roster him, or do you just go for Aaron?
So actually, so I did like rostering Dubois when I stacked them up, but today they moved Foligno to the first line, like mid-game.
Okay.
And that kind of sparked. It seemed like it kind of sparked the comeback. That line had 2 goals after the Foligno flip, so that's probably what it's going to look like. So yeah, Nick Foligno there doesn't seem like he's likely to get first power play time, but he certainly could, and he's 4,100 at the center position. I could see certainly crazier plays than Nick Foligno for that cheap. So
it's a great call.
Yeah, good call there.
Edmonton at Carolina, Edmonton, or the Fighting Tyratties, as I like to call them. There's a lot of value here on the Edmonton side, I believe, kind of ish. But is it worth rostering again? I mean, there's actually value on both sides in this game. The other news that we had was that Pesce was power play. I mean, they kind of run both power plays very evenly. So Pesce, Skinner, Rask, Ryan, and Williams. So it's Pesce that got the power play bump with Hanifin out instead of Slavin, which is kind of a surprise. So Pesce, I think 3-2 or 3-1. 3-2. I think he's definitely in play. And then on the Edmonton side, Matt, I'll just send it to you. I know there's a lot of notes here.
Yeah, I mean, well, McDavid's playing alongside the dynamic duo of Ty Rattie and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So I don't really love Ty Rattie, even though he's put up 2 strong games in a row playing with McDavid. It's only 4,000. I think there are slight reasons for concern even with that. It kind of seems like Draisaitl double shifted. There was a ton of power play time in the last game, so I could just be overstating the effects. But with only 13 minutes played in power play 2-ish time for Rattie, I think it's a bit thin to go there, to be honest. I think there's other guys who've been producing like night in, night out. Certainly not with the upside of playing alongside Connor McDavid, but I think with much better floors and roles than Ty Rattie has, at least, that we can take to the bank, so to speak, before the game starts, that I don't really see much of a reason to go for this Edmonton side. Carolina's always a tough team because the underlying numbers love them and they just suck. So I could certainly see why you'd want someone playing with McDavid, but for right now, I'm just not really looking at the Edmonton side at all.
Fair enough. Also, it's Klefbom. He's out, right? For a year?
Yeah, he's having his shoulder surgery today or tomorrow. So
is there any interest back in Ethan Bear? I mean, he hasn't really done the shooting the puck thing very much, but could his role get increased enough to where you consider him at 3-1, or is it like, why would you take him and not Pesce?
I think Bears in the equation for sure. I don't really love Brett Pesci from a fantasy standpoint either, so
That's fair enough.
I could see either one of those two being fine, but they're not guys that I'm like saying, hey, I'm gonna, I'm only playing them if I absolutely have to. Like I'm not out here going, all right, let me start with Pesci, let me start with Bear, and then make my team. It's probably going to take a lot to convince me that paying up for at least two of my D-men is not the optimal way to attack this slate.
Yeah, and then I know Travis, you had a note on Carolina that you shared before the start. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, it sounds like they have a call up. I don't know where he's gonna slot in right now, but I know Valentin Zykov. He's a winger. It looks like. Actually leads the AHL in goals. So,
is he on this thing? Oh yes, so yeah. 2,700.
Yeah, I mean,
no idea
if you need to punt, if he's gonna get some minutes, that's a great price for a guy that can put the puck in the net, especially against Edmonton depth. I mean, there's not many better spots than that for a punt.
Yeah, I have no idea where he's gonna slot in, but
yeah, I don't either.
I mean,
so if we wanted to play a game called Guess Zykov's, so in 61 games, he has 31 goals, so about 0.5 goals per game. Do you want to guess his shooting percentage on the season so far?
8%.
Travis, do you have a guess here?
Is he a William Karlsson?
He is like William Karlsson reincarnated, it looks like.
Oh, no. I was really hopeful that he was
28.5%.
Did you guys hear my stat on that today?
28.5%.
The Karlsson stat?
Yeah.
I saw it.
Kind of figured out why that 22%. He leads the league in one-timer goals now.
Oh, my God.
Huh. Interesting.
Him and Line are like, what, the same player then? Is that it?
I don't know. I was just absolutely blown away by that.
Yeah,
no, that's interesting.
It makes more sense though that's happening.
It does. So obviously Zykov could be someone like that who's just been converting at a really high rate, and just 2.7. Obviously, make the argument there, but he's under 2 shots per game at the AHL level. I personally have significant issues like thinking that a guy's going to get a significant bump in shot rate in the NHL, and so
I agree.
It's so limited in terms of like the amount of players that you could roster, like especially on these big slates. There's so many spots to go. I'd much rather like go 2 guys in the mid tier than totally punt on a guy like Zykov just to fit in like a one-off Malkin or something.
So we can lock him in for 3 goal performances. Right? All right. I was making sure. We lock that in before we get going. But why don't we move on to the next game? This game, probably rates in my bottom 3 or 4. But there's some. So why don't we get on to Florida on a back-to-back against Ottawa? This game, there's some value for sure. We know Mark Stone skated, but he will not play. Is there anything else? I don't know if there's anything else. Carlson's day-to-day.
Someone mentioned Dzingel, right?
Dzingel was out.
I think he's out.
Yeah, okay.
He's definitely out tomorrow as well, yes. And then Karlsson was sick.
Yeah, I would expect him to play.
Probably no, he probably plays. I'm not saying he's out. I'm just saying like just keep that in mind when you're doing stuff.
Yep.
Like, just give it a second glance. So is there anything from this game that we leg off the top? Obviously, Florida won guys that we've been in love with forever, continue to dominate, and their price shows that. So are we any interest in the Trocheck, Barkov, Dadonov, Bukestad, Yandel?
I'm gonna say there's better spots. Ottawa's just they're a very hit or miss team. My opinion. They're okay. DJ seems to be talking to a ghost or something, but geez, okay. For the Panthers, looking at guys like Nick Bukestad who are values, I just don't really see them like coming in at 6,000 on a back-to-back on the road as strong plays. It seems like they're closing out a really low-paced game here in Montreal. 2-0 it is right now in favor of Florida. So, they're obviously a team that's desperate to win. They're going to be throwing everything they can. But these prices I just don't think make sense. DJ, we got you back?
Yeah. Oh, I totally lost you for a second. But yeah, I got you back at the end. The No, I agree. I think it's a bad spot probably for like I'm not going to pay that kind of price
for the prices. Yeah.
But if I was going to touch on them, I might consider a Bukestad one-off. Get exposure if I really like the spot. And I'm definitely going to look at their lines tomorrow. Right now, I'm just looking at their kind of who got all the minutes, and it looks like it's just really Trocheck and Barkov just getting every single second they can squeeze out of them with Yandel and Ekblad and Matheson on the point. Matheson's price is really
yeah. All right. Seems like DJ's cutting in and out. So
yeah.
Travis, do you want to talk about anyone here, or should we just kind of move?
Honestly, I would say the other side of the game looks more appealing to me. That Carlson, Duchesne, Hoffman stack has been going absolutely insane lately.
Yeah, their power play's been really good.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's probably not going to be terribly high owned, but people know it. And this is the Duchesne that they traded for. I mean, he's been nasty lately, and Hoffman on his wing is amazing. It's just going to be interesting to see who they put with him if Dezingel's actually out, and I think that he is confirmed out, right?
Yeah, I want to say he is. I think DJ brought that up, so I didn't see it myself, but I would expect him not to play. If it's someone like Gaborik, though, like is that something that he's not going to be on the first power play? That's kind of my concern there. So I don't really see that being like a great value spot, just because I don't know who else it would be.
Right.
So. But yeah, I do agree that Duchesne, Hoffman, I think that makes for a really interesting stack.
We've seen him do it against him before, so it's possible.
Hoffman is awesome. Duchesne, I think, is a really good player. I don't think they rank like I think I would play guys like Landeskog and Atkinson over like Hoffman in this range, maybe even like a Claude Giroux. But I love Mike Hoffman. I don't think anyone should, I don't think anyone's going to question that. But I think there's slightly better spots than a Florida team is playing really well, really desperate. And it seems like DJ's back.
No, I'm back. I don't know what. You're back? It really shut down on me for a second.
Let's carry on to Philly at Detroit. I really, this is a game. I mentioned Giroux right there. Besides him and Gostisbehere, I really have no interest. I don't even think my interest in those two is that high. Is that dumb of me, do you think? Or DJ, do you have any thoughts on like this game, how it shapes up?
Looking at Philly's last game lines, they definitely move stuff around a lot. I don't like targeting Detroit very much. They really slow the pace a lot. I think if you're going to, I think Simmons could end up being a pretty decent option at 5'2" again. I still really like him. He can really stack up with Gostisbehere if you want. I don't think you have to spend up too much here, though. I mean, Philly has been kind of that team that kind of actually blow up a slate, but I'm really interested to see what their lines look like tomorrow, because it did look like they went away from Couturier, Giroux, and Konecny for a while. Are you seeing this as well?
Yeah, no, I see that, and I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what the circumstances were around it. So
nope, I did not watch. But I would just keep an eye on what they do tomorrow.
Did take a fighting major. It looks like. I guess Konecny fights now.
Yeah, him and Oshie went at it.
Okay,
good
nice.
for them.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess that would explain the lack of minutes for Konecny.
Okay, so that might have been the problem there. All right, that makes more sense because I did not watch. I don't know what night was that. Was that St. Patrick's Day?
No, that was yesterday.
Yeah, it was Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
Sunday.
Sunday. I was trying to get my phone to work until 4 p.m. So I didn't really do much. But all right, back to this game. Yeah, I think it's going to be the thing. If you really like Philly, if everything's leading you to Philly, I don't think it's a bad take because it will be probably still lower owned considering it's a big slate. But I don't think I love it. I do like Simmons though.
Just want to point out our boy Oscar Lindblom, 14 games in, finally scored a goal.
Very proud of him.
Yeah,
he's got points back to back now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, hit him while he's hot, I guess.
He went up 300 in price though, up to 3.2.
I mean, just no thanks. But
we do have a revenge game here too. Peter Mrazek.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, spicy.
A little bit of that Mrazek action. Man. Oh man,
he's the most. He's either really really good or he's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't think the price on the road is that great, but I can certainly see, the narrative driving up his ownership. All right. Toronto at Tampa. We get the boys against this Toronto team. I find myself, looking like saying, yes, this is the spot I want to target, but clearly other spots here are very stackable as well. So I guess we can kind of get to it more in our top stacks of the night, like where we stand on Tampa versus Colorado versus, these other teams that we're talking about. But anyone besides the obvious plays on Tampa that we're looking at, and then on the Toronto side, anything of note there that we're seeing?
I mean, I have their lines from practice, which were Marlowe, Kadri, Marner, is it Janssen, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Janssen, Nylander, Hyman, Van Riemsdyk, Bozak, Brown, and then Levo, Plekanec, and Kapanen. So I don't know. It's not that pretty. I think Kadri Marner is kind of one thing that I always look at and consider. But against Tampa Bay, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, these are pretty much the lines they ran last game, right? These are actually the exact same, except they more instead of they're the exact same. No surprises there. But Kadri Marner, it does correlate in the power play. Correlates 5-on-5. I think. I mean, they ran Montreal out of the building last game. They really spread the wealth. But I think in a game against Tampa, if you like this as like a game stack, then I think Kadri Marner is where you might want to go. I don't know if any of you like it as a game stack or not, but just kind of throwing that out there.
The one thing that's sticking out to me, I guess, is that Andreas Johnson, and it's not just because of the last name, but he had 7 shots last game and a goal, I believe.
Pretty good.
He's a goal scorer. He was in the AHL. I think he was actually the third.
He
top
sits.
3.
Yep, he sits in 4th right now. Just got passed, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a goal scorer and he's been just firing the puck. He hasn't. The first game he played, I believe he missed the first period because he ended up with stitches. But he's with Nylander and 3,300 on second power play with Nylander. I mean, that line is pretty cheap. Nylander's
4,700.
4,700 and 3,300. Stacking those guys together is a pretty good way to get some value in your lineup and get some big boys somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind that either. I mean, I really do like the Tampa Bay side more, but I think the Toronto side could be sneaky. I mean,
the goaltending has been awful in Tampa. I don't know what happened.
I mean, Domingue had a really good game last time out. He gave up a softie immediately and then came in and kind of shut him down. So, I don't really see any issues in the way Tampa's been playing defensively. I mean, like Toronto grades out literally with the worst expected goals here. So that's partially just due to, I think that Tampa's games are relatively low event, but most of their chances are on the rush, for and against, which I think is kind of what the expected goals misses currently. They do an okay job at it, but I don't think it's anywhere close to perfect. So I can certainly see guys with game-breaking talent, like a Nylander, like a Johnson, them together only cost you the price of one Kucherov. So,
right.
I think that makes sense.
To me, this game looks like the fastest pace on the slate, just because the way Toronto plays, and then the off the rush that the Stammers and Cooches really make. I guess that's how they get their bread and butter. I guess is on those rushes.
So before we move on, because we didn't talk about them, obviously Kucherov, Miller, and Stamkos are great plays. They're all first line, first power play together. We just weren't going to say, hey, they're really good and kind of bore you with that. So do definitely consider them. We'll see how they kind of stack up when we get to the line stacking segment. And I don't think there's anywhere else on Tampa that we're really looking, right? So we safe to move on to LA Winnipeg.
Oh, let's do it. Hedman.
Yeah, Hedman. Yep. I think he's kind of included in that. But okay.
LA at Winnipeg. So line A, still doing line A things. He does not want to not get a point in a game. That's just kind of what he's against now. But are we gonna jump on Winnipeg? I mean, they're at home against LA. LA is not a team I love to target myself. Is the line A still a top play though? Matt?
I'm gonna say no, just because with Scheifele back, I have concerns about his overall ice time. It's one of those things where I don't think it's as big a deal as I make it out to be. But with Scheifele and Wheeler, they really do like pull the load, especially when they're winning. And Line A really does play like second to borderline third line minutes. We saw that in the game against Dallas. Just Scheifele's first game back, Line A's minutes fell to 16. He obviously has upside, but I think just for that price, I'd much rather go for a guy who has like a much better role for his team. I mean, when you can get a guy, obviously McKinnon's a total outlier at this point, but even like the Barkovs and like when they play 20 plus minutes versus the, I think 16 to 17, which is a reasonable projection for Line A, that's 5 additional minutes of shots, of blocks, of potential to pick up points. That while Line A may convert his chances as well or better than anyone in the NHL, I'm counting more on the raw value than I am. He's going to score on his one shot and his one shift here. Like that's just not really how I play. But the game logs clearly, show that Line A is well worth this price in tournaments, especially. But I'm not going to go anywhere near it myself.
Yeah, I'm totally down to fade this game. I mean, as we've mentioned before, the morning skate bump in price. Actually, we have the opposite of that, where we mentioned Jeff Carter being egregiously overpriced for his output, and then he went down pretty much a full 1,000. I mean, from 680 went down a full 1,400. But do you think Jeff Carter's reasonably priced? I know he scored last night against Minnesota. Looks like at this point, I mean, the game's not over yet. He's kind of leading their output. Do you have any interest in Carter potentially in this game?
Yeah, I do. I mean, at that price, I can really see that being a useful spot for him. I want to see the way the lines have shaped up. I haven't gotten to watch too much of this game while we've been recording.
That 70s looks back together.
Okay, yeah. If that's the case, then I really like Carter here. I think it's more of a one-off play personally, just because of that power play 1 exposure that Carter gets. It's going to be with Kopitar, Brown, Muzzin, Doughty, I would suspect. So I don't quite trust Toffoli, Pearson, and I don't really love targeting Winnipeg all that highly. But now with Carter at 5.4, historically we've seen him as a mid 6Ks player. And, he's been producing a bit. That role seems to be there, and his line mates seem to be good again. He's not trying to drag around, Lewis and Tobias Reeder or anything like that. So, I think I'll need to make sure that it's a go, but I could certainly see Carter being one of the top options, and I think him and Zibanejad is a really interesting discussion to have.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else, Travis, from this game you wanted to mention, or do you want to move on to Colorado at Chicago?
I think it is worth pointing out that LA did beat Winnipeg at home earlier this year. They haven't been easy to beat there, so I mean, it's possible you could.
And Trouba's out. Right?
Yeah, weird.
Doubtful. Well, concussion
protocol. I don't think that Trouba news matters at all. He's been out basically all year with something or the other. I mean, so it doesn't make.
Okay. Well, he did play last game. Okay. I knew confusion there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think you could one-off Line A, but that's all I can see on the Winnipeg side. As far as the LA side, Carter at that price is pretty good. He obviously is pretty fresh too. So back to back, I don't know if that's going to be such a big deal. But other than that, I don't see anything else here.
All right, yeah, I think that's the right take here. Like, I think Carter's up mispricing, but everyone else, it kind of strikes me as they're either fairly priced or overpriced.
6.4. Like, do you think they meant like they just like
honestly they could have
I really honestly because like his price just dropped.
What was he on Monday's slate? I think he was like 6'1". So. Yeah. Well, Monday.
Oh, Monday. I'm not even looking.
That was 2 slates ago now. But
right.
Yeah, that's I think that's just a little bit too far of an overcorrection. So let's move on. Chicago at home. The raging bull in a china shop, Nathan McKinnons, are headed to Chicago. Does anyone manage to even get a finger on McKinnon before he lights us up for double digits here?
I don't even want to like play the slate without playing him at this point. Like he's just so dominant right now. It's I mean, would you think he's the best center on the slate?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. I think that you try to roster him then. Like I wouldn't even get cute with this one. Like we've gotten cute with McKinnon multiple. I have.
Call me out.
I mean, I just feel like, well, I'm gonna say you. I'm saying like I
get it.
We've been like, well, he's a really good play, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe this guy at like McDavid's a lot cheaper. It's like, well,
are you really gonna go down? If you're in the group me this weekend, I played Kucherov and Ovi over McKinnon on Sunday slate, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be great. Like Kucherov and Ovi, they're gonna smash. They combined for like 15 points, but at, the first game of the slate, McKinnon goes for 13.5 by himself. I'm like, okay, I'm dead.
He's so good right now.
I mean, but yeah,
it's unbelievable. So yeah, I think McKinnon. Is there anyone you'd like to stack with him potentially?
I'd go with this Rantanen.
Anyone with a pulse?
Rantanen and Barry. Barry's on a massive point streak right now. I don't know. It might be 10 games.
Yeah.
He's shooting the puck. I mean, not quite Brent Burns like, but getting a lot of shots and blocks. 6,300 isn't terrible.
Yeah, I think we were a little bit concerned about his ice time with Erik Johnson back. That seemed like they were easing Johnson in a game that they won pretty handily, but still Barry led them in 5-on-5 ice time by a decent margin. So I don't think that's as big a concern as it would have been. But yeah, you can stack anyone with a pulse out there with McDavid right now. I mean, McKinnon.
Well, either
like
of them, really.
Landeskog, Rantanen, Perry. Perry. Why Perry? Barry. So that's you can.
So you want to do McDavid and Perry, Matt?
Yes.
All right, sounds good.
Lock them in.
All right, anything on the Chicago side? I know DeBrincat had a hat trick last game. If you really want to chase points,
that seemed quite point chasing.
You have 3 shots on goal, 14 minutes of ice time, about 15, and 3 goals. So if you want to do that, good luck. Is there anyone on Chicago? I feel like we shouldn't just completely not say a word about them.
No, Duncan Keith is interesting to me just because he's going to be out there against McKinnon, and there's going to be so much pace there. But I don't know, 4,500 seems like a bit much. But I do think he has massive upside in terms of like block shots. He's had a really good shot rate all year. I know he's been pretty bad like in terms of goal scoring, but the shots are there, and I think the floor numbers are there for him. That this could be an okay spot, but that's kind of more of like a game stack thing where I think if you're kind of trying to think next level on the slate, like if you think McKinnon smashes, then Duncan Keith will be out there trying to tie the game up. He'll be out there against McKinnon, getting hemmed in his zone, kind of, so to speak. So there could be some action there, but really I'm not interested in Taze or anything like that just because I think I just don't think it's a great spot, and we found other value that I like.
Okay. Anything from you, Travis?
No, I've been off Chicago since November, so I'm good.
Yeah. All right, so let me move right on to Vancouver at Vegas.
Pass.
Yeah, fair enough. I doubt I'd even consider touching this game. But if you were going to, we should at least mention, is there anyone on Vegas that you think like in this matchup could, I mean, do you want to just jump right back to that good old Wild Bill Karlsson? 7,100 absolute snipe daddy.
I'm just gonna go throw up.
All right. I mean, I just feel like you can't do it because of the price. There's just no way. If you was like 6,000, I would consider it honestly, but I just can't imagine paying that price with Stamkos like 100 more. Like
the issue is he's fairly priced for his production.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying like
bonkers.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, this season it could end up being an anomaly, which I think many people that just follow the numbers would say there's no way to keep this pace up. But I mean, really good for him. I mean, he's going to at least probably get 40. He already 39 goals. So
yeah, he's
crazy year.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah, he won't get paid. So is there anyone though on Vegas? I feel like I mentioned Karlsson kind of jokingly, but I mean maybe like Tatar. I mean, obviously spreading the minutes pretty out there. So it's going to be kind of tough to get anyone at like a really good, I don't know, minutes per whatever. But
Yeah.
no, just
Travis, anyone for you?
I see. I'm gonna completely disagree with you on this. I think William Karlsson is probably the pay up spot if you want to be really contrarian, because everybody in the industry says the same thing every week. And then what happens? You know, his price drops and he gets a hat trick. He's been like this all year, and everybody just refuses to roster him. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, one lineup, put William Karlsson in, but if you got a few, I would definitely take a shot here, because I mean, Vegas has scored 5 and 6 goals in the last 2 games in this matchup. I mean, you can't ignore that, especially at home. And that top line right now is the only one that's really doing much. So, other than Erik Haula. So, I really like Karlsson.
All right. I mean, I'm not going to have
Master
it personally.
himself has spoken.
I don't mind it. I mean, I like the way you said there about being contrarian. It's like it's always if you roll out a ton of lineups, like I feel like you might as well try to fit him in a couple times. His shot numbers have actually not been as bad as they've like maybe seemed like they've been earlier in the year. He's kind of had a few games in a row, kind of a one bad one versus Minnesota. But you take that one out of the equation, and Vancouver is very, very bad compared to Minnesota. But it's worth thinking about. And then I guess is there anything else on Vegas, Matt, or should I mention the one narrative we have here?
You can shoot for it.
We have, I think, our first ever narrative going against Vegas. Brandon Leipzig. Brandon Leipzig got 21 minutes of ice time, power play 2. He was out there with Horvat and Godolbin. Do you have any interest in going with the ultimate first ever narrative against Vegas at 3,000?
That is. It's like, you know, the real issue is that are we sure Vancouver's ever going to score again?
No, I mean, we're not sure on that at all.
Like,
Brock Besser is hurt, so we don't know.
Like, they
we
scored
can't assume anything.
They scored 3 goals against San Jose, and I thought for sure that the Earth was just coming to an end. Like,
it's a new record for sure.
They have 3 goals in 4 games then. So
yeah.
You could take any goalie that has a pulse on Vegas, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to agree there. Like, I you know, Fleury's 8.5, the most expensive goalie here, but I would imagine that line is going to be the highest of the night. It's currently listed as a minus 300 in Vegas for Vegas's odds. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about concentration of offense, like, you are right, Travis, that first line has been like it for Vegas lately. So I could see the third wheel there being a good play. You know, Karlsson being Karlsson, do with it what you will. But it seems like either Thomas Tatar or James Neal will be there. I want to say they started out with Neal there, and then it went to Tatar later on in the game. So I can't really say with any certainty which one it'll be at the moment, but that's something that you can check out their Twitter for. They're pretty upfront with the line combos in the morning.
Yeah, we'll check on that one tomorrow. I mean, probably a fade if you want to go narrative street and say Leipzig. I mean, I think it's pretty bad take, but it could happen. I mean, the
minutes is there. The rates are there, so whatever. I could see
it's available. I would say. I wouldn't say it's like I'm not going to stake my reputation on him, but I mean he's a player in the NHL that will play probably about 20 minutes, and New Jersey at San Jose. Are we ready?
If that line sees that Haula line, it's very, very possible that Haula line's been really bad defensively.
It could happen. Honestly, who knows? I mean, Vegas really rolls their lines, so
yeah, they do.
Who knows? So. Their matchups are kind of. I mean, they're home, so maybe
they don't line match, but they do match top 6. So
yeah. So why don't we move on to New Jersey at San Jose, the last game of the slate? We must have seen this game earlier in the year. I don't remember these two ever playing each other, but
we saw it last year, and last year Brent Burns had a hat trick against them.
That sounds about right.
Just saying.
But we have the fighting Evander Kane's. Evander Kane is just red hot, and I love it because you know what? Like, for everything everyone wants to say about Evander Kane, you know what? I mean, he got kind of dealt a poor deal in Buffalo. I don't know how nice he is. I mean, yeah, did he maybe he got into some trouble? I'm not saying he's a class act, but he is red hot right now. I mean, he's making a case that San Jose really is going to need to resign him if he keeps this pace up. His shot numbers are just as they once were, unbelievable in Buffalo. He came off a 4-goal performance, had 8 shots on goal and a block shot without actually putting a point up. At 6-8 against New Jersey, do you guys have any interest in Evander?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do have a lot of interest, honestly. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, wait, that's kind of a guy I wasn't thinking of. But I'll say it again, like the reason that I didn't love him in Buffalo was that, like, for his outstanding shot rate, he wasn't on the first power play. Towards the end, he was actually kind of on like the third line. He's found a home in San Jose. They're dealing with a ton of injuries right now, so I assume Kane Pavelski will be like a stable line one to work off of. But I mean, you can't argue with the minutes he's playing, with the shot rate for those minutes. Yeah, I think that price is actually reasonable.
I totally agree. So would you say him, Pavelski, and Burns would be potential stack you'd look into? I mean, Vlasic, I know, left last game. He stayed a day. Anything on him?
Yeah, I definitely like Kane and Burns together.
Yeah.
I feel like Burns is just primed for one of those monster spots. You look at his floor numbers; he's averaging 6 a game over the past 10 games, but the points haven't been there. I mean, with Evander Kane, like, literally hotter than the devil's ass with the 4-goal game, like the other day. I mean, I think we kind of gave up on that weeks ago, DJ. But
okay, fair enough. And then did you want to mention the New Jersey line combinations or?
Yeah, Palmieri, Zajac, and Hall was last game, but they got killed, so I would expect those to change. Just kind of, I think that's noteworthy for the Nico Hischier crowd. I don't think he'll get much traction anyways, but certainly something to keep in mind. Zajac also on the first power play. Terrible shooter, so I don't really like him on big slates like this, but it does make me like Kyle Palmieri for that price. Just one of those guys who, when he's at this level in any sort of decent matchup and playing alongside Taylor Hall, I think he's a fine mid-tier value. So, yeah, I'll say I think Kyle Palmieri is right in the cash game considerations, even in a relatively poor matchup.
Fair enough. Travis, anything from you on this game?
Yeah, I think the San Jose side is where I'm going to want to go. I think we saw 18 some shots and 36 shot attempts in the first period for LA against New Jersey, where they actually got shut out. But I mean, they've been taking penalties, a lot of penalties, and the goaltending situation's kind of up in the air. I think New Jersey's kind of due to get blown up. This is one of the spots that I think it could absolutely happen.
All right, yeah, I think, definitely I'm on board with that. So do you just want to get into our favorite line stacks and guaranteed goals?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I don't know. How long do you think we've gone on this podcast? We've got to be pushing an hour, right?
Yeah, I think we're decently over an hour, but I think there's good stuff here. So
there's a lot of good stuff. Matt,
Travis,
you want to go first?
I'll give it to Travis. Do you want time or do you want to pick first? We're gonna do one no matter about price, and one kind of be price conscious and note that you can't play basically the 2 top stacks on the slate. So basically a 1 stack and then 1 cheapish stack that you like. So do you want to go first, or do you want us to?
You guys can take it first.
All right, I'm gonna go Kucherov, Stamkos. I think they're incredible. Ownership's gonna eat itself up on this slate, so I'm just gonna take them in a nice little home matchup against Toronto. They smash at home. I mean, they smash on the road too sometimes, but I love them. So I'm going to go in Kucherov, Stamkos and locking that in as my top stack.
All right. You know what? I'm going to get contrarian. I'm going to go with the Islanders 1. I actually really think I'm going to have it tomorrow. Tavares, Lee, Bailey. I don't think anyone's going to have it, and I think it's really due for a nice game. I mean, the Islanders might be like kind of out of the playoffs, but I think that this is a team that can definitely take advantage of Pittsburgh's kind of fast pace, line rushing, and what have you. So, all right, Travis, do you have yours now?
Yeah, I am gonna go with Vegas. Carlson, Marchessault, and then Shea Theodore.
Nice.
I have some bold ones here.
I really like. I just want to build a shot floor with those guys because they're the only ones that really do much on the team as far as shots go. And that, I mean, power play. We've all seen what happens to Vancouver when they get down a man. Things can happen quick. So,
all right, Matt. I know you guys have some. I know you had a couple of cheap stacks you liked early on, so I'll send it to you if you have one.
Yeah, I mean, do you have one picked out? I'm trying to pick because I feel like I'm missing the one that I just really love.
I got
well, you go first then. There's two I like, so I'll let you go.
I like that Nylander Joe or Johnson stack there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. Is it Johnson or Janssen?
I think it's Janssen.
It's probably
Janssen. I thought it was Janssen. Yeah, I honestly didn't know, and I said it, and I was like, I could be completely off here. Okay, yeah, that was one of mine, and then the other one, I'm definitely considering Zibanejad just in general, but I think him and Kreider or potentially if Zuccarello, if they do end up changing their lines up, I think it's a very, very fair stack to have against a back-to-back Columbus team. I mean, I'm not against it. I mean, if you do have it too, you could even go with Lundqvist. Obviously, you're not really going to get an assist from Lundqvist likely, but it's a good way to think about that game.
If you're playing against me in a head-to-head, you probably will, though. So keep that in mind.
Ooh. All right,
get
Matt.
that assist from Lundqvist. I'm actually going to go on the other side of that game. The issue was I like Zibanejad more as a one-off play. I'm not sold on Chris Kreider being like a worthy addition to a stack at this point. So I'm actually going to go. I think this is relatively cheap. The Nick Foligno centering Panarin and Atkinson. I really like the 1-2 with Atkinson and Foligno. Panarin's obviously a great player, and I think he makes a ton of sense. But if I had to pick two, I feel like with Foligno moving to that first line, there's a very, very good chance that Tortorella is going to put them together out in the power play one as well. It's not like Dubois has been incredible there, and they played the exact same role on that first power play. So I think Foligno could be really overlooked, and I really like that in tournaments.
All right, a lot of good stacks there. So why don't we go guaranteed goals? I mean, does anyone want to lead it off?
Man, trying to pick these lower guys is I think what's going to kill me.
There's a lot of like upper price guys that I like a ton, so it's kind of always tough. Boy, Travis, you have anything off the bat here that you're interested in for a guaranteed goal?
I think. Well, I guess the first thing that popped out to me was probably Kane or Burns.
Yeah,
that would be another stack that I like if we could have two. But yeah, I think Kane with those shots and Burns obviously with the history with the Patrick. I don't know. I think they put up 5 on him.
Yeah, I definitely like that stack as well. I don't know. I try to keep the 3, and I really couldn't pick a third. I mean, Pavelski's there, but it's really expensive. But if you had to pick one, because you can't really have both for your guaranteed goal, would you go Kane over Burns? I guess probably.
Yes.
And then that would leave you with what, like 4.5 or 5?
So then it's obviously Ryan Carpenter.
All right, perfect. Nailed it. All right, Matt, do you have anything? Because I think I can probably figure mine out.
Do I have anything? I don't yet. Do you have yours? Go for it.
All right, let's think. All right, I'm gonna go with Wayne Simmons again and Phil Kessel, and that's
good. I like that.
Just makes it. I'm gonna count it. That is 11-9.
Ooh.
That's actually really sharp, DJ. I'm mad. I'm mad I did not think of Wayne Simmons there. He fits perfectly with what you were trying to do here, I think.
Yeah. I like that. I like Simmons. I like Kessel. I really like the Pittsburgh Islanders game just in general as like a game worth like getting a few players from on each side.
Yeah, I'm gonna I can't in good conscience guarantee a goal out of Kyle Palmieri, but I like the way you're thinking there. Like that lower mid tier of wing is where I think the real. I think there's some decent upside there. Guys like Zuccarello, Simmons, like you mentioned. I think there's some really good ways to stack him there. I'm going to go with James Neal. I think he gets the run on that first line. If it's Tatar, then I'll go Tatar. I like the way you're thinking, Travis. That it's growing on me. So I'll go with James Neal there, and then one of these mid-tier defensemen is my other goal. I'll go with Dustin Byfuglien. I feel like we didn't talk about him. He's fallen back down in price. He's still on that first power play for Winnipeg with Scheifele back. They now have Stastny, obviously. The shots have been there. The floor has been there. 5,300 for the minutes that Byfuglien's going to play. I think that's a really, really strong option against our back-to-back LA team.
Yeah, I like that, especially with exposure to Line A.
All right. Yeah, a lot of good stuff here. I mean, the best daily fantasy hockey podcast in the world, as we've already discussed. So, again, follow us on Twitter at MorningscapePod. As Matt tweeted, President Trump gets all of his takes from us. You can check out our Twitter and find that, or Matt's Twitter and find that tweet where, the President of the United States takes his cues from us. I didn't say, I don't know why. Doesn't seem like the best policy, but if you want to check that out. Anything else before we go?
I don't think so. Good luck in the Morningscape Madness. We'll have the final four for Thursday slate. So good luck to all of our participants there, except for Jay Willie. Hopefully I kicked your ass, bud. So yeah, other than that, Travis, thank you for coming on. This was great. Anything you want to say before we head off?
No. Thanks for having me, though.
Alrighty, so we've gone 3 for 3, having awesome guests come prepared. If you're interested in, being the next guest, I guess we could fit one in April for sure. Be sure to join the Morningscape Listener League on a daily basis, as the winner for each month gets invited on the pod if they're so interested. Travis obviously was the February winner, so good luck in March, everyone. And then again, follow us on Twitter at MorningscapePod and check out the website morningscapepod.com. So for DJ, for Doug, for Travis, for myself, have a good slate, everybody, and we will see ya.